welcome to my kitchen. Today I am going to be showing you how to make my chicken noodle soup recipe. I kind of adapted this from something called shaker chicken noodle soup, but over the years I've sort of adapted it to be a little bit my own, and so I am excited to share that with you today. I feel like chicken noodle soup is the perfect stay-at-home meal, and since we're all staying at home because of the quarantine, I thought I would share it with you. So let's go ahead and get cooking. So the first things that you need to do obviously are put your hair back and wash your hands, very important. So I just finished doing that. And then the next thing that we need to do is cook the chicken. If you have pre-cooked chicken, that's okay too. I just like to cook my own. So I have 2 chicken breasts just in some olive oil here, and I'm going to be putting them in the oven for 20 minutes at 200 degrees Celsius. So now that that's cooking, we're gonna go ahead and move on to the broth. So when it comes to broth, you have several options. You can either get chicken broth that comes pre-made in cartons. You can make your own chicken broth. The way that I usually go is to make some bouillon cubes into broth. And so this recipe, because I've made it so many times, I do sort of tend to kind of eyeball a lot of the measurements, but I will put down below kind of what the measurements were in the recipes I was kind of pulling from when I was making this, so that way you can get an idea of how much that I'm putting in. But I am going to make this into broth right now. So I try not to make too much broth when I make it, just because we put so many goodies in this soup. So you want to make sure that you have enough space. So my broth has come to a gorgeous boil, and I like to flavor it with some garlic. So I'm going to actually cut up some garlic and put it in here while it's boiling, and then I'm gonna take it out once I'm going to put all the rest of the elements in. So that way you get some garlic flavor without having too much garlic. I just have 2 cloves that I sliced, and I'm just gonna let them boil in there. This next part's my favorite part because it's definitely what makes the soup. So I'm gonna take a little bit of butter. I am using Kerrygold, delish. Just a nice little pad of butter. Put it on a low heat. In the pan with the butter, I am going to put up my chopped up carrots and celery. And I would slide them off the cutting board with panache, but I have a feeling they would go everywhere, so I'm just gonna put them in. So I'm just going to sort of saute these and get them to soften a little bit in the pan. My timer just went off for my chicken, so my chicken is now ready. So I'm just gonna take it out. Unseasoned chicken looks so wrong. I'm gonna let that cool down a little bit, and then we're gonna dice it. In the meantime, I am gonna keep working on my celery and carrots. Getting a nice sizzle on them now. The carrots and the celery tend to take a little bit of time, so in the meantime, I am going to start boiling my pasta. I like to use fusilli for my fiance and I. We usually have about a half a box if we're having like a pasta night, or if I'm making it for the soup. So this is a half a box from earlier this week. So I am going to prepare these, and I'm going to cut up my chicken so it'll be ready to go in when we're ready. Okay, so these are starting to look like they're getting a little brown, which is totally fine. That means they've had enough heat probably. Coming to the part which is the best part. So we're gonna take some dry vermouth, and we're going to pour this in and let it evaporate with the, oh yes, with the veggies. Oh, it smells so good. So I'm gonna let that reduce down a little bit, and I'm gonna finish cutting my chicken. So my pasta water is now boiling, and I'm going to put my pasta in. And this says 11 minuti. And now that we got that going on, I'm going to take the garlic out of the broth. Just a little trick if you have trouble, because there's always one that kind of stays in the broth, is to make a little current going one way and then take your spatula and go the other way, and then because it's the only solid thing in there that's really big, it'll get stuck on the spatula. So that is what I have learned from experience. So now that I've given everything a good stir and we have a little thyme, I'm gonna get involved with a little thyme. It's time to prepare any fresh herbs that you want to put in. I am going to be putting in a little bit of rosemary and some thyme. So I'm just gonna wash these up and then put them into my broth. And unless you're having people over, you really don't need to take the time to take all these little thyme leaves off, but it does make it a little nicer. Otherwise, you can just kind of pull these guys out as you're eating. As for the rosemary, I do like to rip it up pretty small. And I put a lot more thyme than I put rosemary, just because I like thyme a lot and I like rosemary a little. Over here, we are ready to go. We're going to be putting in now some heavy cream. This is going to mix in with that vermouth and make it just so awesome. So I'm gonna put a little heavy cream in, and then I am going to just let this cook together a little bit too until it becomes sort of syrupy. So I just added my chicken into my broth with my fresh herbs. So that is all ready to go. So this has gotten completely perfect, amazing, oh my gosh. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put it into our pot as well. Now the soup has been simmering for about half an hour. A lot of that excess sort of broth has boiled down and the flavors are kind of congealing more together, which is exactly what we want. So now I'm going to turn the heat down to just the minimum burner heat, and I'm just gonna, you know, go ahead and serve this to my fiance when we're ready to have dinner. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I'm so sorry if it's a little clunky. I feel like it's going to be, just because I am not used to getting all the shots and everything while I'm cooking. But if you do make this soup, I hope you enjoy it, and definitely, you know, send me a message on Instagram and show me if you do. And yeah, I hope you guys stay safe and healthy, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye.